president expressed his gratitude to the prime minister,
whose partnership did so much to make this momentous day possible.
And his message was clear. The war is over.
Israel, with our help, has won all that they can by force of arms. You've won.
He said the state of Israel is now strong.
And it will live and thrive forever.
Celebrations are underway. Linda Gradstein reports from Jerusalem.
Families held emotional reunions with the freed hostages who were held in Hamas captivity for 2 long years. All over Israel, people celebrated, especially at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, where a crowd of tens of thousands cheered every time the photo of a freed hostage appeared on the screen.
In the West Bank, Palestinians rejoiced as buses arrived carrying those prisoners from Israel's Ofer, and giant crowds greeted the newly freed arriving at Nasser Hospital in southern Gaza's Khan Yunis. Here in the U.S., it's day 13 of the government shutdown. CBS's Bradley Blackburn says some federal workers are getting paid.
For now, the Pentagon is still paying service members, bridging the gap by using $8 billion in unused research funds to cover this week's paychecks. Air traffic controllers will get their first partial paycheck this week, and then nothing if the shutdown continues.
A powerful storm is slamming the East Coast. Rain and wind is intense from mid-Atlantic states on up into the Northeast. Lewis, Delaware Deputy City Manager Janet Reeves.
They are expecting major coastal flooding. There's a good possibility of evacuation, so we want to make sure that we're prepared for that.
States of emergency in effect in New York and New Jersey. A helicopter came crashing down to the ground near a hotel in Huntington Beach, California over the weekend. CBS's Andres Gutierrez.
The palm trees prevented a direct collision between the helicopter and a pedestrian bridge connecting the hotel and the Pacific Coast Highway.
I thought that thing was going to land. I didn't even have a chance to look up. I was dodging through the parking lot.
5 people hurt, including a child who was pinned underneath the chopper. Bystanders raced to the wreckage to free him. Dow up 486. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Whoa, more fiber?
What?
Down here, buddy. It's me, your spoon. Constipation with belly pain still coming back?
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, but Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Hey, Rutherford County sports fans, from auto, home, renters, business insurance, and more, trust your local State Farm agents. Celeste Middleton, Ron Reeves, Emerson Williams, Alex Williams, Dana Womack, and Andy Womack. This powerful team lives here, works here, and are your neighbors. They're ready to help you manage everyday risk, recover from the unexpected, and realize your dreams. Contact Celeste, Ron, Emerson, Alex, Dana, or Andy for all of your insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County. We're the Good Neighbor Network. FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro. FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable. This is Bill Wilson, also known as Mr. Murfreesboro. I'm excited to be here back in the studio this morning, and I'm excited about our guest this morning, who is a Murfreesboro native, a well-known, I guess, architect, author. He's done all sorts of things. A friend of mine who actually grew up with my older brother, Mitch, went to campus school. I'll let him tell you about all that, but I want to welcome to the show Kem Hinton. Welcome to the show, Kem.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. That's true. I did grow up with your older brother, and we started campus school in the fall of 1960, and the two of us were in grade school and then at Central High. Graduated in 1972, and I still have some stories on your brother that I'd like to share with you, maybe off the air.
I'm sure, but Mitch has done well for himself. I was the prodigal son, but the story's not about me. It's about you and what all you've been up to. You are known as being an architect. Tell us some of the buildings that you've been an architect for.
Well, in 1984, a gentleman named Sebe Tuck and I started a firm. We actually had a third partner named Gary Everton. Gary had gone to UT like me. Sebe had gone to Auburn, and we worked with a firm in Nashville called Gresham Smith and Partners. Great place to learn out of college. And we formed a firm in 1984, and we were together until 2019. And during that time, we were so honored. We started with small projects like home renovations and small companies, and eventually ended up with some pretty choice commissions. I think our firm was best known for the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, the Frist Museum of Art, the Nashville Public Square. We also Sebe designed a lot of buildings on the Lipscomb campus, Lipscomb University, and I did many buildings on the campus of Montgomery Bell Academy. But I think the projects that I'm best known for as lead designer was the Tennessee Bicentennial Capitol Mall, which was finished in 1996, although parts of it were not finished for like almost 10 years later. And one of the projects at that location, a separate project, was the Tennessee World War II Memorial. That was dedicated in 1997. And then most recently was the completion of the new Tennessee State Library and Archives, which is basically it's a research place, but there are exhibits there.
In Nashville.
Yes, it's right beside the Bicentennial Mall, located on Jefferson Street, on Fifth Avenue. So it's a wonderful place to go. And if you are looking for any information about your family or anything about Tennessee, they've got it all. It's an amazing place. So my career is, I've been very blessed with my career. In 2019, Sebe and I both, he wanted to retire. I did not want to retire, but I didn't want to be somebody wandering around the firm with 10% ownership. You know, what's he doing today? And there was some disagreements with other issues, and I thought it's going to be best for me to just start a single person studio, and that's what I've been doing since 2019. And it's been a blast. I've had so much fun. And this sort of gave me time to do this book, new book.
Yes. Tell us, first of all, the name of the book and how long have you been working on it? Let's look at the background.
Well, the book is called Netherland. It is a nonfiction, true story that is about my young life and the young life of of a student that I had, a fellow student that I had at Central High named Ed Netherland. Ed and I were never friends, but he was amazingly smart. He was very inventive, and he was wildly ambitious. And I want to say something. The reason I wrote this book, it really started 10 years ago, after his funeral, or at his funeral and after his funeral. I came down to Murfreesboro. I had to be in town for a meeting in the afternoon, and I came over to Murfreesboro. Usually, since I live in Nashville, if I come down to Murfreesboro, I will often go by and see where my parents are buried and leave a flower from my mom and a little flag from my dad on their tombstones. And as I was leaving, I noticed one of those green tents where somebody is going to be buried. It's, you can sort of see it off in the distance, and I wondered, I wonder if that's where they're going to put Ed Netherland. Actually, it was.
Is that Evergreen? Evergreen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I had enough time, so I drove over to the visitation. It was, when I got there, it was sort of near the end. And I really went there because he was in our high school. We had a huge high school, Central High.
The only high school.
Yeah, it was only
at the time.
That's right. And I think it was the largest high school in the state. We had more than 500 people graduate in the spring of 1972. And after that, they closed it, turned it into a middle school, and they opened two brand new high schools called Riverdale and Oakland. Anyway, if somebody in your class, I'd been to, I guess, so many visitations of like parents of our friends, but this was a classmate. So I really just went by and see kind of who showed up, and I wasn't going to stay for the funeral, but I ended up staying. I was urged by a fellow female student, said, "Just sit here and let's stay here." So, and then some things happened that just really were quite astonishing. And as I went back to Nashville, I thought, I have got to know more about this guy's life. And one of the reasons is that during reading the obituary and sitting there, and this was mentioned, was the fact that a book had been written about Ed Netherland by a reporter who's now the dean of the law school in Arkansas. His name is Colin Crawford, and he started writing about a story that began in 1990, and the story is the book is called Uproar at Dancing Rabbit Creek, and the subtitle is Battle Over Race, Class, and the Environment. Well, this book, and it was mentioned in the obituary, and I thought, well, I'm going to get a book, and I got a very cheap copy of it off Amazon. I think I paid $4 for it because it came out in 1996, so it's been out for a while. It's a marvelous book. It's like 400 pages. But basically it tells a story about Ed Netherland and his friends and business associates. And it's a story about building toxic waste incinerators. And
that was here in Tennessee, right?
Well, he was trying to do it somewhere in Tennessee. Not exactly sure where they would do it. They needed a rural county that had rail line and stuff like that because you were going to move stuff in and out. And then he settled on Giles County.
Pulaski.
I didn't go over very well with the folks in Pulaski. And long story short, that didn't work. So he moved the project to Mississippi, to a county called Noxubee County. Noxubee County is the poorest county in Mississippi, which means it's the poorest county in the nation. I mean, and they need jobs, desperately need jobs. And of course, things like this, toxic waste incinerators, somebody's got to have one. Sometimes it's kind of like prisons, and sometimes these facilities go to counties that need the employment, and it all works out. Anyway, of course, that story ended with this book in 1996, and Netherlands' murder in the U.S. Virgin Islands occurred in 2014. So there's 2 decades of things that Ed did, and they're absolutely fascinating what he did. And I want to say something. I started writing this and thought that it would be a nonfiction short story. And I had 2 or 3 very, very wonderful authors and legal people talk to me about it. One was Hal Hardin. Hal Hardin was a U.S. attorney. He was a judge, and he lives in Nashville. And then the other person of note was Robert Hicks. Robert Hicks wrote Widow of the South. That's a famous New York Times bestseller that had a lot to do with saving Carnton, which is a plantation and a home in Franklin.
Yeah.
It's where the largest Confederate cemetery exists. And Robert's just a genius in reading things, and I asked him to read the short story, and he gave me a whole lot of pointers, and then he said, "You just got to tell more. This is a very interesting person." He had never met Ed Netherland. So I started writing drafts. Well, and I should just tell you, and I want to clarify this for everybody that's listening, that many draft versions of that story about Ed have been floating around in the past few years, maybe the past 7 or 8 years. I started thinking about the book, I think it was a couple of years after Ed's death, so that would have been 2016. So, and those, there were various versions of the draft. I was sending them to people. I was sending it some of Netherlands, Ed Netherland's associates, and people that I knew that he knew, and then people that I knew they would be valuable, like his oncologist. Ed survived cancer back in the 1990s, and his oncologist was very impressed with him. This guy's a fighter.
Right.
And so, but I want to ask everybody, if you have a version of Jeff, just throw it away, because those earlier versions they're incorrect. First of all, the information's not complete. But also the whole thing, those whole earlier versions are tilted. They're tilted wrongly. And I was so fortunate to deal with some of his, past employees, past business associates, as I mentioned, his oncologist, a guy named Ira Brody, who he worked with here, and then Mr. Brody moved back to New York. And they really helped me understand, it's always 2 sides of the story.
Right.
And so I were guided by those folks. In fact, one person who had been involved with a business empire with Ed Netherland and lost money, she really got him a case and about, doing the story, and I needed that slap on the face. I need to sit back and listen.
Why is that?
Well,
in some ways.
Well, because Netherland was never my friend. When we were in grade school.
Yeah, this started way back. I mean, y'all weren't good friends, but I want to hear where it started, because y'all grew up at a time.
Well,
there was a lot of chaos going on for sure in the 60s.
Well, the 60s were a wonderful time, but there were weird things. First time I remember, first of all, I went to campus school, and Ed went to Bellwood, which is on the other side of the city. And there was a Boy Scout troop. Percy Dempsey had it, Troop 359. And most of the kids around campus school or Mitchell Nielsen might go to that troop. And I think kids, little boys, would go to troop closer to Bellwood. But Netherlands showed up for a few meetings, and he just kind of seemed like, kind of like the Dennis the Menace type of character. He seemed to have a strange attitude, and now he was a big guy. Yeah. And he knew he was a big guy. He was kind of tough, and I wasn't. I was scrawny, and still am. Anyway, he stopped going to meetings.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're in high school together. Now,
I want you to hold that right there. We'll pick up where y'all are in high school.
Okay.
You've been listening to the Roundtable here on WGNS 1450 AM with Kem Hinton. This is Bill Wilson. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
I've been helping people from Murfreesboro for over 30 years and spent a lot of time there over the years.
We love Murfreesboro. We have lots of friends down there. We've partnered with Middle Tennessee State.
And we found more and more people asking for our services, and at some point it just made sense to open up an office there for the convenience of the citizens of the community and the surrounding areas.
We wanted to actually physically be present there and not just going there a lot.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market.
For 75 years.
Ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
Friends? Yes. The financial partners whom you've built a relationship with at Old National Bank are still at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard location, right here in the borough. And so are the warm, homemade cookies.
Cookies are ready, dear.
Like Grandma used to make. If you need online and mobile banking, Murfreesboro's Old National Bank does that too. You and Old National Bank, better together.
Old National Bank at 2230 Dr. MLK Jr. Boulevard. Old National Bank, member FDIC.
Let's check those WGNS Good Neighbor events. The Rutherford County Library System is offering free computer classes. Get with their Technology Engagement Center on Minerva Drive in Murfreesboro. And if you're being challenged by your smartphone, walk into any branch and someone will help you resolve those smartphone issues. Absolutely free. A service of your Rutherford County Library System. Some great plays to enjoy. Damn Yankees at the Center for the Arts in Uptown Murfreesboro. And in neighboring Woodbury, a one-day performance this Saturday of a new musical comedy, Music City Melody. Saturday only, with a 2 o'clock matinee and a 7:30 evening performance at the Art Center of Cannon County in neighboring Woodbury. Another play to enjoy, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only at the Springhouse Theater in Smyrna. There's a free grief support group every Wednesday morning at 10 at the St. Clair Senior Center. That's Wednesday mornings at 10. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Skies become mostly sunny here for this afternoon with a high in the upper 70s. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 51. Tuesday, sunny, high of 80. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Currently, it's 51.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's EV Car Club has hundreds of members and growing. EV owners, enthusiasts, and anyone interested in learning more about electric vehicles is encouraged to sign up at mte.com/EV Car Club.
From News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. This is Bill Wilson, Mr. Murfreesboro. We've been joined in the studio, and our guest is Kem Hinton, a architect, an author, and several other things. And we've been talking about his book, Netherland, about Ed Netherland. And the way I knew Ed Netherland was through my older brother, Mitch. I remember him, like we were talking about earlier, Mitch and Debbie were going on to college or out of in high school. Dave and I were rugrats. We were young kids. And I can remember Ed, I think, went to UT. I don't know if it was a scholarship, but he went up there as a manager or a trainer for the football team, and he would come back to visit. And I remember him bringing some cut-off jerseys, practice jerseys that the UT football players wore. I thought that was cool. So I only knew Ed on that way, and then later in life I knew him. I had showed him the Farmer Brothers insurance, being that I'm in real estate. He called me, said, hey, I want to look at the Farmer Brothers insurance building, which was on Memorial. He was living in New York at the time. He was coming back to possibly buy that. But that was my 2 or 3 interactions with Ed. So it wasn't bad, wasn't good. It was, it was pleasant. But we were just talking about when y'all were in high school together. Let's go back to you and Ed in high school.
Well,
at Central High School here in Murfreesboro.
The summer before first grade, but back then you started high school in the 9th grade. And the summer before, I worked at Stones River Country Club out as a person working maintenance. We were out cutting grass and doing all stuff at Stones River Country Club. And there were 4 of us. One was named David Parsons, and Buddy Miller. And both of these guys were very brawny, very athletic, very strong. And then it was Jamie Proctor and me. And Jamie, the 2 of us were not. We were scrawny. We were little kids, kind of skinny. Anyway, we worked on it, and I remember seeing Ed Netherland off in the distance. I think he played tennis, may have given tennis lessons. Sort of saw him again. Anyway, that next fall, we were all in high school together. And our paths rarely crossed. And I don't know why. We were in what would be called the sort of better classes in high school. Central had just been integrated, and what Ed was so successful at is being a trainer, as you mentioned, for the football team.
Right.
And he was a trainer of the state football championship team, and
1970.
Well, the quarterback, the famous quarterback, was David Parsons, who I'd worked with in the summer, and the center on the football team was Buddy Miller. So these 2 friends of mine just did so well on the football team and brought enormous pride to Central. I mean, that was like the most wonderful thing to win the state championship. Of course, Jamie Proctor and I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
They still talk about that team.
Well, they should. It was magnificent.
And he went on to SEC, and one went on to play pro ball. But
But Jamie, the only thing we could do is be on the sidelines and root for the team. But there was a lot of pride with that. But anyway, Netherland and I bumped into each other a few times, and what I sort of saw is he just seemed like he kind of picked on people, and he sort of seemed like a bully. It was really unfortunate because first of all, he's a really handsome guy. He had girls interested in him, and he had a whole lot of dates. In fact, one of the football players that he was working with talked about how Ed had the flavor of the month. But
Baskin Robbins.
But he dated beautiful girls, and maybe he was seen as kind of the fun bad boy. Who knows? Right. But I had a run-in with him with my girlfriend on something, and just didn't appreciate that. Anyway, we all graduated from high school, and he, as you mentioned, he got a full scholarship to be a football trainer for the University of Tennessee, the Vols. And I went to UT to study architecture. UT is so big that literally being in architecture and being in football training and all that stuff, he was also in business, so our paths rarely crossed. He joined a different fraternity than I did, and I don't think either one of the fraternities were like the Animal House movie version. We were pretty tame, but there were a lot of fun parties there, and I would occasionally see him at some of the band parties and stuff. One time I noticed Netherland was dating perhaps one of the most talented and beautiful girls on the entire campus. She was the head majorette for the Pride of the Southland band. And so when Ed was in the football locker room at halftime, this beautiful blonde was in the middle of the football stadium throwing the baton up in the air. It's like she launched it into orbit,
right,
and would catch it every time. I mean, she was absolutely stunning.
Right.
And he was dating her. That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Of course, we all got out of college. I ended up working for an architectural firm in Nashville, and Ed, to my knowledge, he came back to Murfreesboro and inherited his father's insurance company, which is on the square. And so he did well immediately. As an architect, I mean, you have to start out really low end as an architect. You've got to be trained.
Work your way up.
You have to work your way up. And I decided to go to get a graduate degree and went to Penn, and there took courses at Wharton, a couple of business courses, and that's where Ed's older brother had gone to Wharton in business.
Was that Joe Jr.? Was that his name?
Yeah, I think that's his
name. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Ed had two older sisters that were beautiful, and people, I think people adored him. They were very.
And his father was a businessman, like you said, and also a preacher.
Yeah, preacher. And so after graduate school, I spent a summer at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and then came back and went into business with Steve Tuck and Gary Everton. So anyway, after college, Ed and I saw him only one time when I just started business. He was wandering around the public square, and I had come into Murfreesboro to try to get clients. It was really hard for a little boy to get a job as an architect in his hometown.
Yeah.
But I knew that Ed was being incredibly successful in his insurance business, and it didn't surprise any of us. He had a convertible Mercedes, and the very last time I saw him was it was our 25th high school reunion, which would be in 1997, and he showed up, walked around, flirted with the girls. We all wanted to flirt with the girls. And then the next thing, I hear he's been murdered in Paradise.
In the Virgin Islands, right?
It's interesting. What I found out is Ed was so smart in the insurance business that he developed kind of new types of insurance policies. Something called a lilac. Now, my book is consumed with an interest in the color purple. I don't know what it is. It starts with a corsage that I had with my high school sweetheart. She bought a beautiful dress for a formal, and I had to go get her a purple corsage, and that meant I had to buy an orchid, and they were really expensive. She looked great with it, but and then later this girl taught me how to make balloon wine out of balloon wine. It's a way to make wine out of fruit juices, and we made balloon wine out of blackberries, and it turns out purple and all that good stuff. And so this insurance policy that Netherlands invents is called a lilac, and I don't know another purple thing.
I'm thinking flower. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a name, but it means life insurance, life annuity contract, lilac. He becomes so well known in this business that he's quoted in the New York Times. I found out he had an office in the Helmsley Building on Park Avenue.
Yeah, he lived it.
And member of something called the Friars Club in New York City. So Ed was really, really, really successful, just incredibly successful. And none of us knew this. But one really bizarre thing happened. We lived at the end of a little street, and literally the road becomes our driveway. Well, our next door neighbor was walking one day with my wife on this road. It's incredibly safe, and the woman asked my wife if I was indeed from Murfreesboro, and she said yes. And she said, does he know a guy named Ed Netherland? And my wife had gone to UT too, and she said, well, yeah, both of us did. He was a UT with us. We don't know what he's doing now. And this woman said, well, my daughter is dating his son, and I'm just kind of trying to find out what's going on. And I told Marilyn, well, what's going on? And she said, Ed has done so well that he's flying, my daughter and his son to the U.S. Virgin Islands, to St. John Island, and just living like a tycoon. And the mom said, I'm so excited about that, but I'm also kind of worried, like maybe one time there was a bodyguard around or something. I'm like, I told Marilyn, oh, he's just gotten so wealthy living in St. John's paradise that he's just made money, and you got to have protection when you're down there. So hands off to your daughter. Good luck on that.
Right.
And so, but then, as I mentioned, after finding out about him being killed, and then finding out that something had happened after the funeral, I thought, I have got to, what happened in the U.S. Virgin Islands? And that's a completely separate part of the story.
Is it in the book, your opinion, or what you think happened?
What happened is that he was killed at a very remote location. St. John's Island is a beautiful island. Most people go to the west end of the island. That's where all the boats come in. That's where the restaurants and developments, that's where most people are. The middle of St. John's, very long island, the middle section is a national park. It's preserved. So, but there are some homes at the far east end, and he, at the time of his death, he was staying in this really attractive small contemporary structure overlooking the ocean, and across the way is British Virgin Islands. So this is a place, like, if you wanted to get away and live and have an isolated setting, it was absolutely fabulous. It's well water and solar power. And I think he actually was interested in this area, was going to do a development around this house or in the neighborhood, because it's prime property.
Is it like a gated community?
No, it's not gated. I think that's what they were going to try to do, is do a gated community. But the house where he was, it was just it's just a single structure, contemporary, beautiful place, and small. And so there are. What happened also is, after he was killed, a lot of people came out of the woodwork were complaining about the coverage of the murder. I talked several times with reporters in St. John's Island. I just asked them questions, and they would come back, and most of them said that the police in St. John's were sort of inept, not the sharpest, and this was a sad thing, and they tried to look into it, and I think the FBI looked into it and other groups, and then they just kind of dropped it.
Yeah. And
Ed's oncologist, who I talked with, was really frustrated, visibly complaining on editorials and stuff that this is no good. They need to find out who did this. And so I don't think, there are a lot of theories. There are 4 kind of major theories about why he was there, what he was doing, whatever.
Let's hold it there, and let's talk about those theories when we come back.
Okay.
We're going to take a break. We're here at the Roundtable talking to author Kem Hinton regarding Netherland.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
America's Thrift Stores is now open at the corner of Middle Tennessee and MLK Jr. Boulevard. Whether you're thrifting for a one-of-a-kind statement piece, name brand jeans, or just browsing for the thrill of the find, America's Thrift offers unbeatable value with prices up to 70% off retail. Don't miss the deals, don't miss the fun. Come celebrate the grand opening of America's Thrift Stores in Murfreesboro. Visit americasthrift.com/Murfreesboro for all the details.
Hey, did you see that crowd last week?
Well, it's the 50th season. What'd you expect? Fireworks?
Nah, just sweet corn and smiles.
This year marks 50 fresh, flavorful seasons at the Rutherford County Farmers Market at Lane Agri Park in Murfreesboro.
Hi, this is Trevor from Bell Jewelers. As a family-owned business, we're here to try to help you with the best prices because we want you to keep coming back. We want to be respectful to our customers and give them the best prices and the best value for their money, just so we can see you through the years and keep you as an ongoing customer and being part of the family. And as love comes into your life, come see us at Bell Jewelers. Nothing sparkles like a Bell Jewelers diamond. This is Trevor from Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad Street, across from Toots.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett, hitting right at what matters most to all of us here in the heart of Tennessee. Weekday mornings at 10 on WGNS, AM, FM, and online. From News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. This is Bill Wilson, Mr. Murfreesboro. We've been joined in the studio with author, architect, Murfreesboro native Kem Hinton, and we're talking about his newest book, Netherland. So we were talking on the break about the theories of what happened to Ed. Can we elaborate on that just a little, and then talk a little bit what the family have, regarding his family? Do they know the book's coming out? What's their thoughts?
This is a touchy issue, and thank you for bringing it up, because I'm certainly pondering this seriously. I know that Ed loved his children. I mean, he took care of them, and I think that family members may take issues with and be upset with whatever, and it's probably natural. It's like,
sure, either
they're going to say I put it in the wrong context, or it was vindictive or whatever, and I understand that, and obviously if I've made any errors or misrepresentations, I hope they will let me know. To lose somebody to a murder is terrible,
yes.
And they need justice. They need justice. And like his oncologist and I, when we first were speaking, it was like, is there any way we can, get involved with this? And of course, I think he had also asked the FBI and maybe family members, because when he was killed, the only thing that was taken, to my knowledge, from the house was his wallet and his watch. Well, from what I understand, I haven't been there, but what I understand from other people, there were a lot of valuable things at that house. And so that seems like, and the police said it was a botched robbery, that Ed had discovered somebody in the house or something like that.
Right.
Got in a big fight and he was killed. But that seems a little hard to believe, and what I assume is he probably had a pretty nice watch. Ed had classy things. He liked the
finer things.
The finer things in life, and he probably had a Rolex or something like that, and so they stole that and his wallet. But way back, I'm going to talk about right after Ed was murdered and I found out about it. I kind of had a grudge because of the way he treated my girlfriend in high school. That stuff is silly now.
Yeah, some people say, well, Kem just had a vendetta and he wrote this book, but it's more to it than that.
Well, yeah, but I think everybody needs to remember, one of my closest friends, Joe Hodgson, says, grudges are light. They can sit on your shoulder forever. But, if I look at things, it's like, what was Ed's impact on me? And his impact was that I watched the two of us grow up, and I watched him do certain things that were completely different than the things I was interested in. And even though I was
maybe a competition, maybe.
Well, no. Well, the one thing is probably true, yeah. But Ed, I was never a threat to Ed, and he wasn't, and he had no interest in me. We lived completely different lives.
Right.
Although, as I really look back at it, we actually lived very similar lives. We were from good families in Murfreesboro. We went to fraternity life, college, and everything, and got out in business. And one of the things, you picked on my girlfriend, you're trying to hit up on my girlfriend. Well, I had this imagined meeting where we would meet, and I would kind of give him my mind on that. And he might say, well, we both had good taste in girls, and she wasn't turning me down. So I wasn't, I was going to take advantage of the situation, Kim.
Right.
And so then in an ideal world, and this kind of hope this all works out, if I get to heaven, he's there, we're all celebrating. I say, we need to raise a glass to the country girl that taught us how to make balloon wine. That's kind of a tussle we had.
Is that in the book? I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I still have bottles of wine that I made in 1973, and this girl taught me how to make the wine. I still have.
I've never heard of balloon wine.
Well, it's where you put this juice in a crock, and then once it's fermented, you put it in a glass jug, a gallon glass jug, and you put a big balloon on top of it. And what happens is the balloon expands, but then it kind of pops. And when it pops, it doesn't destroy the balloon, it just kind of sneaks out the side. And so this goes on for like a week to 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, what is in the jug?
It's breathing wine.
It's fermenting wine. And that process is wonderful, and I still make wine to this day.
Wow.
I make better wine.
Better wine? Better than Mad Dog 2020. Is that wine? That's not even wine. What's your thoughts? Again, I wasn't close to. I just knew him through my brother and knew of him. Knew they was what's already been mentioned. Successful.
Well, there's another thing that part of that doing this book allowed me to do is to look back at the kind of wonder of Murfreesboro. This town is extraordinary. Central High School was fabulous public high school, and the teachers there, Miss Chrisman, was my English teacher. Miss Womack, my English teacher. Miss Oma McNabb, my math teacher. Miss Jean Craig, my art teacher. John House was a drafting teacher. I had the best teachers, and that was remarkable. And when I went to college, of course, a different type of teachers there, but this was a great place to grow up. And anywhere you're going to grow up, you're going to have some tussles with people and things that kind of twist you around. You're like, I didn't like that, and I didn't like that teacher. Actually, one of the teachers, Sam Moore, was one of the most beloved teachers at Central High, but I had a terrible encounter with him right as we were graduating. That's in the book, and just
Did you get caught doing something, or what?
No, he thought I had written a letter of criticism that appeared in our newspaper. We had a weekly newspaper called The Highlights, and someone had written a letter.
The Central
High.
Okay.
Yeah, someone had written a critical letter to the newspaper, and literally he grabbed me in the hallway, grabbed me by his shirt, and said, "You wrote that, damn letter," and I didn't even know what he was talking about. I hadn't even seen it. But it was about our senior prom, because he had worked with some students to select the band that was going to play at our senior prom. Okay, well, most students wanted a rock band. Well, what we ended up with was kind of a Lawrence Welk band.
More bubbles, Charlie.
And nobody showed up. I mean, it was a real flop, which was sad.
And then you wrote something and said, "Hey, this is kind of lame."
No, I didn't write it.
You didn't write it.
I didn't write the letter.
He thought you wrote it.
I know who wrote the letter. It was criticism before the prom event.
This is way before Facebook.
But the best thing about the prom is everybody got their picture made. Everybody came in and got their picture made with dresses and guys looking sharp. And at the bottom of the prom picture, it said, this is 1972, it said, "Our 10-year reunion will be on December 26, 1981. Now that's on the picture, so everybody knew when the 10-year reunion was going to be. And 10 years later, it was a colossal success to get to see all the people that we loved from high school days.
I want to thank my friend, Murfreesboro native, architect, author, Kem Hinton, who we really didn't have enough time, but we've been discussing his new book called Netherland. And I'm going to let you tell us where people can get that.
Well, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and at many bookstores around the area, Vanderbilt Bookstore, Parnassus, Landmark Books in Franklin, and there's a bookstore in Knoxville, several places.
Are you still doing tours as long as we get you? Is it a bacon and egg sandwich, or is it a peanut butter?
No, it's a grilled cheese sandwich.
Grilled cheese sandwich.
That's my fee.
You can contact him. He will take you on a tour
of the Bison Till Mall. Or anything else.
Thank you, Kem. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
Subscribe to Big G TV, local content that matters to Rutherford County.